Cool. So we are now recording as well as streaming. If you're watching the stream, ignore this. If you're watching the VOD, hello, welcome to episode 1 of Let's Build a HyperCard RPG. So I just booted up our emulator here. We are emulating a Mac Classic running System 7.5.3, which is pretty close to what Small Nathan first cut his teeth on programming a very, very long time ago. So this is a total nostalgia trip. And just like the last episode, the most important part of this whole nostalgia trip is to put on the right music. So I have the Roxette Greatest Hits album, at great penalty to my cool Last.fm listening history. I'm going to put this on. So if the music's too loud, just let me know in chat and I can turn it up. I can turn it down. So let me just recap what we built in episode 0. Oh no, in fact, actually before we do that, why don't we just kind of talk about what HyperCard is. So let me open up the addresses stack. So this is something that just came with HyperCard. HyperCard was this kind of weird, not fully a database, not fully a hypermedia authoring system, not quite Apple really didn't know how to market it, so it became its own weird thing. Turn the music down a little bit. So this was around kind of from the mid-80s to mid-90s. In the PowerPC era, I think Apple kind of just forgot about it and let it die on the vine, which was a real shame. But a HyperCard stack, so the thing that you open up with HyperCard, it's conceptually like a virtual Rolodex. So the addresses stack here, which I just opened up, is a literal virtual Rolodex. So you have things like fields here where I can enter in text, and there are buttons which are scriptable, so there'll be programmable functionality to those buttons. In particular, you have the notion of multiple cards in a stack here, right? So these buttons have been scripted to go back and forth, between the different cards in the stack. The other thing that's kind of important to know just now is I can also use the arrow keys to go back and forth. So creating these buttons in your own stack isn't entirely necessary. And just kind of like Photoshop, there's the notion of like a background layer. Oh, hello, Gehemri. I've never actually had to say your name out loud, so thanks for tuning in. So there's a notion of the background to a card. So a HyperCard stack has one or more cards, and a card has exactly one background associated with it. So to make that concrete, I can go look at the background here. Oh, hello, Modern Surf. Yes. Let me turn up the Roxette a little bit here. So the background is kind of like a prototype for what the card should look like. So every card sharing this background will have these fields and these buttons. So I point that out because a lot of what we're going to do in this stream is to create backgrounds that will serve for sort of the remainder of the cards. Oh, hello, Obscuratory! Thanks for tuning in. I watched your 90s FMV cooking stream a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. So it's cool that you're here. It's interesting that there are at least as many people interested in the Roxette as they are in the HyperCard. It warms my heart. So we are now in the HyperCard stack that I created in the 0th stream. And just to refresh everyone's minds, if you saw the 0th episode, or if you haven't seen it, this is what we made. So the first card is just blank. There's nothing on there yet. That will be our title card down the road. But what we did is we created sort of the prototypical first-person view for the game. So the way we're creating the game is that, so first I started by creating this background. So anytime you see this hatching around the menu bars, we're in background mode. So I just used the shortcut to go in and out of background mode. So this is like the top-down view, or the mini-map, if you like. So if this is us here, we can see 8 sort of tiles in the game around us. And so for this background, there are 8 cards associated with this background, one for each possible sort of square. So you can see that I've shaded in sort of cube number 1, or wall number 1, so that's 2 ahead of us and the left. So 2 ahead of us on the left. And card number 2 will be like this tile being filled up here, and then 3 here. 4, 5, 6 will be the same on the other side here. And the last 2 are for sort of the cubes directly ahead of us. So what we do is, what we'll end up doing is, when we want to render a novel view based on where we are in the map. So let's say if we were standing in a position in the map such that this square, cube 1 and cube 3 would be filled in, what we would do is we would copy the contents of this card and the contents of this card, sort of combine them onto whatever the current gameplay card is, if that makes sense. That was a lot of words. And it was maybe a little vague because we don't have a game card yet. So why don't we go ahead and create that? So I'm back on the first card. I'm going to create a new background. And this automatically creates a new card. And we're going to kind of base it off the background that we used from the 0th one. So I'm going to drag down this menu bar here. This are like all the tools that you can use on HyperCard, so it's kind of like, you know, like Photoshop has different tools, same sort of thing here. And we're going to need the patterns one a lot as well, so let me move that down there. So I'm going to copy and paste the contents of this card into our new gameplay card. And there's a little bit less that we don't, there's some things that we don't need here. Let's see, what should we do here? One thing that I would love to get feedback from the audience is that right now we've talked a bit about like how to render backgrounds and stuff like that, but I don't have any ideas about like what the setting of the game should be, or how things should look. So if you have suggestions, feel free to start throwing them out in chat. And if there's something that we like, we can start using it. So the very first thing I'm going to do here is start drawing what will be the floor and the ceiling in the game. So what will happen is, how should we describe this here? So if this is the horizon here, oh, I should turn on grid mode because everything is aligned. Bruce has alluded to me having grown up in the city that in the 1990s had the world's largest, sorry, let me try that again. In the 1980s, my hometown had the world's largest shopping mall. We were in competition with the Mall of America for a while, and then I think some other place in Dubai just like blew us both out of the water. So now it's like the 6th largest mall in America, largest mall in the world, and it sucks. I like this idea. Why don't we do this? Oh, interesting. For some reason, oh, okay. So I can't quite draw the horizon line, but if I could draw a line right in the middle here, that would be like the vanishing point on the horizon. And everything down here is going to be the lower, like the floor, and everything up here will be the ceiling. So, kind of to just give the illusion that things are farther away off in the distance, I'm going to start out by just drawing. Well, maybe I'll just start out with kind of drawing a floor that sort of gets darker and darker as it goes out into the distance. Hopefully this kind of looks okay, and we can always change it down the road. One of the things that I really like about HyperCard is that it's super easy to just sort of come up with something, prototype something really fast, and then change it down the road. And because we're doing it in the background layer, when we actually start putting the card together. Yes, Robin, I love it. Robin suggests an abandoned mall far in the future, overrun with mutant experiments, run amok, gone feral would be pretty okay. So I like this. I like this a lot. So let me just keep doing something like this here. So I've just kind of drawn the floor for the moment. And just to sort of give you an example of how we're actually going to do this rendering. Actually, let's draw the. We may as well just finish this here. I'll just choose some different patterns just to make it a little distinctive. Something like that. Why the heck not? So I've gone out of background mode, and just as an example, I'm going to show you how we might draw a view that just only has sort of this. If the only thing we can see is the wall 2 ahead of us and 1 to the left. So what basically the rendering function is going to say, it's going to pull the contents of this card, which is sort of this cube here and this part of the mini-map. It's going to copy it and just sort of overlay it on this card here. So this will be our game map. So that view would end up looking something kind of like this. So I did that by hand. Obviously, we want to write like a script to do it for us. So we'll start doing that maybe towards the end of this stream. But this will be kind of the game card. This is where all the action will take place. So I think we should give this card a name. We'll call this card. So every card can have an associated associated name of it, which I will call game. And there can also be an associated script with it. The script will just basically just have a series of callbacks associated with it. So you can say, like, when the card is opened, perform these. It's basically kind of like a macro more than anything else. Like when the mouse is moved, you can do certain things as well. But we'll deal with that in a little bit. I'm going to create one more card and one more background. And this isn't strictly This isn't strictly necessary for the game, but I think it will help us kind of understand what's going on. So I'm going to call this background debug background. And we're going to call, I want card info. It's going to be debug. So we're going to have like a lot of global variables, like the player's position, the player's orientation, probably stuff like health and inventory and stuff like that. And it would be nice just before we finish the user interface here to have it kind of all in one place so we can kind of see it. And this also gives us a chance to kind of look at the drawing tools on HyperCard and sort of these, and how to make buttons and fields. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new field. I'm going to give it the name player pause. And you can choose the style. Like, I really like how easy it is to get like UI stuff going in HyperCard. It's definitely created like a low barrier to entry, especially when I was a kid and was just sort of playing with things. I didn't really know what I was doing. So it's going to be one like this, and I'm just going to duplicate. Actually, I should really have the grid turned on. I'm going to regret it if I don't. Oh, grid is on. Oh, maybe grid just doesn't apply to fields. Okay. Well, no matter. Yes. Garemi says OG Visual Basic. Actually, after I finished this series of streams, I was thinking about doing a Visual Basic stream. I wasn't quite sure what I would build, but Visual Basic was kind of what I moved to after HyperCard when my folks got a PC. So I actually kind of thought that would be an interesting successor to this. So I'm going to call this one player pause and player dir. So notice that we are in, we're not in background mode. Oh, nice. Horseman found the C for Dummies book that started his programming career, or their programming career, rather. Yeah, I think I tried to read C for Dummies, and then I got about as far as pointers. Oh, that's, I should make this not transparent. I tried to read C for Dummies, I'm sure, and then I got to this chapter about pointers, and then didn't understand it. So, probably another decade or so before I could understand, before I could get anything out of C for Dummies. So I'm going to call this player pause and player dir. That was kind of annoying, so let's just line them up like so. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a field for every global variable in the game, just so every time we want to see like total state of the game, it's just all here for us to see. Now in order to do that, we're going to have to write a script. So I'm going to go into card info and script. So this is going to be our first script in HyperCard. So it's in a language called HyperTalk, which is pretty similar to AppleScript in that it's very like English oriented. So it's meant to kind of be natural language, which just confuses me more than anything else. But they're trying to make it accessible. So I'm going to write on open card. So this will get called every time we first we first navigate to this card. So there will exist two global variables, which I will call player dir and global player pause. Basically, there's only two namespaces. There's function or handler scope, as far as I know, and then the global scope. So what we'll say is put player dir into card field player dir, put player pause into card field player pause. So to give you some ideas, dash is a comment. So this could be, for instance, position 2, 4. So it's a string. HyperTalk doesn't strictly have arrays. They have comma delimited. Well, actually, you can change the delimiter, but it's comma delimited strings, which is less than great, but that's enough for our purposes. So, for instance, player pause might be 2, 4, and player dir could be, I think it's going to be 0, 1, 2, or 3 to be north, east, south, west. So just to sum up, what this will do is every time we open this card, it'll put the current state of the player, being the position and direction, into these two fields. So we haven't actually set this variable at any point, so I'm just going to navigate away. I'm going to open up what's called the message bar. It's kind of like a REPL in that I can do that. I can write simple expressions in there, but of course I can mutate state as well. So I can put 2, 4 into. I think this will work. I actually don't know what will happen because it may put it into like a local variable of some sort. Oh no, it didn't. Okay, excellent. Oh yeah, no, it's great. I tried once to write like a Sierra adventure game parser that used the message bar. It totally didn't work. But that's, it has a nice feel to it. So I'm going to put 2 into player dir. So this means that we can sort of mutate things as we're creating the game, but we can always navigate back here and make sure that we can kind of see what the state of things should look like. So I'm just going to draw a little thing around here. Let's add, since I think we're going to put all the global variables in here, let's kind of draw a part of the UI that'll say globals. And because this is such good programming practice, let's put tildes around it. Globals. We may have to extend this as the game gets more and more complicated. But that's a problem for another day. Globals, sure. Okay. So let's see what comes next. So I'm gonna delete the contents of this card, which, remember, because we have the background, which is distinct. Oh, whoops! Oh, I created a new card. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I created 2. Because we created the background, which is separate, right? I can delete everything here, and it'll just delete the contents of the card, not the background. Right, so I think the simplest thing to do, given the state that we've set up, let's create the part of the UI that's going to show what direction we're facing. And kind of the way that I was imagining this was that we would have like kind of a compass-looking thing here, like kind of surrounding the mini-map. So if we were facing north, it would say like N, E, S, and W down here. So I'm going to create 4 fields, which I'm going to place around here. So text style, I kind of want it to look a little fancy. I guess this Palatino might be the fanciest font we have. Yeah. I feel like there were like Gothic fonts that we had on my Mac, but this disk image doesn't have one, I guess. Oh, I should say, this disk image comes from the Internet Archive, and you can run them in a browser emulator. So if you want to play around with this, it's totally easy. You can just open a web browser and start messing about with it. It's great. Let's see. In fact, yeah, woo, Internet Archive. It's great. I'm going to actually make these fields part of the background. Did I copy it? Oh, I didn't. Darn. Okay. Well, we'll make a new card. That's right. Mark D222 says London was the oldie English font IRC. I think you're totally right. So we'll just do this again. So I'm going to. We should give this a name. Actually, I'm going to leave the field name blank for now because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to want to do with that. So I'm going to write a function here, which is different than a handler. It's not. The distinction, I think, is mostly semantic, and I don't fully understand it. But I'm going to do function. Call it render. Why not? End render. So what this is going to do is when it's sort of a message passing thing, because I guess maybe things like small talk were kind of on the brain when this was coming around. So when the background field receives the message render, what we need is the global player dir. I guess because the 4 things we can have are north, east, south, west. I'll put this into dirs. And then we want to extract whatever player dir is and index into dirs with this. So we're going to do put item player dir into me. Oh, no, we don't want that because this is going to drive me completely bananas. HyperCard's 1 indexed. So we definitely want to have that, right? So if player dir is 0, 1, 2, 3, just because it'll make the modular arithmetic easier, we have to add 1 here. So that will bite me at some point, but I'm glad I remembered. Yeah. Actually, let me do one more thing. Put player dir plus 1 mod 4 into the dir. And I think you'll see why I want to do this in a sec. Okay. So, if we go back, oops. So here player dir is 2, which means we should be, oops, where are we? What on earth? I got lost. Okay. Yes, player dir is 2, which means we should be facing south. So, I'm going to open the message bar and say send, I think send render to background field, oh no. So background field number 1. Oh. Wait. What did I screw up here? Oh, does the put item line have to refer to the dir in some way? Almost certainly. Let's see. Oh, yeah, right. So put item, the dir of dirs. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think Modern Surf is right. We want on render. I can't quite remember the distinction between handlers and functions. I'm not sure I ever fully understood it. So let's try this. Okay, so that worked. That's the thing that we expect. Cool. Now let me... I think we want to have this text centered. I'm going to make 4 copies here. Modern Surf says functions are called as... Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right, that makes sense. Functions are called with argument parens, or you preface it with an article, which is pretty funny. So because this... So now we will want player 2 plus 2, mod 4. So this should say E. Oh, what is the... That's interesting. Let me see if I can give this a name. Right. There's... Oh, because it's not a background field. Yes. CHZ16. Trying to figure out how to pronounce that. It says it's a card field, not a background field. Thank you. Which explains why the indexing was off. Right. So background field 2. Oh, that should be west. Oh. So northeast. Oh no, that's right, because if you're facing south, yeah, okay, that's good. Never mind. So let's do... We'll do the other 2, and then plus 3, and then plus 4. And then we will have our 4 cardinal directions. Okay, so that's all cool. Now, one of the things I want to do is... I'm going to write a render callback inside... Oh, dang! Thank you! I need some sort of buzzer that will zap me every time I create a card field instead of a background field. It's funny that it lets you select a background field. Like in the card state. But, oh well. The fault is mine. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to create a background script. So just like as cards can have scripts, backgrounds can have scripts as well. I'm going to call it render. Just like the others. Oops. So we're going to have repeat for I equals 1 to the number of background fields. Oops, and repeat. And we're going to send render to background field I. So, there's a thing about message hierarchies. So when you send a message, first it tries to send a message to like contextual thing, like the current card, sorry, the current field or current button, and then it'll try like the card and then the background, then the stack, and then like HyperCard, the HyperCard runtime. So I think it's enough to just say send. Well, send render to background. Oh. Oh, it's a bug in the script. Okay, what have I screwed up here? Repeat. Is background maybe not a... repeat for... It never occurred to me that debugging something I wrote in front of humans would be a stressful thing. Yes, it's hocus pocus. Hopefully, maybe timely. So the error is can't understand arguments to this keyword. And it's highlighted... Well, actually, this is not a bad chance to show off the debugger. So you can set breakpoints. Ooh, Modern Surf says this would be a fantastic time to show the HyperCard docs, which I believe is just help. Cool. So, let's see. I think find topic, repeat. Yes, it's my avatar. It's all connected. Darn. So it doesn't seem... Modern Surf, do you know where... If I search for loop, is that going to help? No. Darn. Well... So is this a valid handler? It is. So I'm just going to make sure that we're actually calling this correctly. Answer just pops up dialog box. Yes, okay. So it is indeed a problem with that loop. Let me just go to a side screen here. Oh, sorry, I opened the wrong one. Mark says repeat with x equals 1 to the number of card buttons. Yeah, what do I have? Repeat for... Ah! Yes, it is cheating. I have... the Internet Archive also has HyperCard books up, so I am consulting a PDF of a HyperCard book. So yes, no. I am... That said, arguably... newsgroups might still be valid in that case. I spent some time reading the HyperCard Usenet group, which Google's archived at work a couple of weeks ago, and it was mostly just spam for the last decade, which was kind of a bummer. So Mark D222 says, repeat with. Oh, it's with! Thank you. Has a message from the future. Okay, so answer test works. Okay, let me turn off the breakpoint. And so... Okay. That looks good. Now, why didn't this one... This one didn't render. Answer test. Send render to... This is indeed a background field, isn't it? It's a background field. This is also a background field. Okay. Well, we might come back to that a little later. In fact, actually, I kind of like that it only has like the ones kind of in front of you. Maybe that's actually kind of a nice feature. So now that we have a way of determining like our orientation, we should probably write turning left and right. So this will be another background script. So on rotate right. The only thing we need to do is increment player dir, and then put player dir plus 1 mod 4 into player dir, and then we want to render again, right? Because we want to update the UI. Ooh, it's model view controller, not at all, but maybe we can pretend that it is. So, with that script, if I invoke rotate right, it should increment that global variable to 1 more. Want to bet the n and ns not rendering is off by 1 bug? Almost certainly. Yes, I think you're right, because now this one didn't appear. Okay, so what have I done here? So player dir plus 1 mod 4. Oh, yes, almost certainly, because the thing that we want, I tried to have the, item the dir plus 1, because the mod 4 eats the increment. So, good catch, everybody. So then we'll make this plus 1. I feel like there's a... I do have to copy to each field. I could have written... Yeah. I could have written some sort of shared thing, but programmer hubris, right? Like, oh, this is just a short thing. How long could it... We'll write it once and then never come back to it, right? So... Okay. So now let's do rotate right again. Oh. Ah! What on earth did I script this time? Oh! Mod 4. Man. Okay. Yep. Okay, well, serves me right for... AppleScript also befuddles me, Mark D222. Maybe it was just the sort of thing where, at the era that I wrote a lot of HyperCard, I was able to sort of grok it in a way that, like, a little bit older, when I was a little bit older, I just couldn't do it. Okay. Wow, okay. 0. CH16, what's Frontier? Okay, somehow, I don't know how I screwed that up. Okay. So, okay, so let's see. So player dir is 0. Is it a... Is it a paren issue? Oh, interesting. A Dave Weiner thing. 3. Alright. Oh, interesting. Frontier was a scripting by... I never encountered that. Was it... I guess it must have been like a non-Apple thing. So... Alright. Alright, this is embarrassing. Into the dir. Okay. Plus 0, mod 4 into the dir. That's okay. Serves me right for... I'm not actually sure why I'm modding plus 4 here, the second time. Because that's only meant to indicate that we're, like... In a way, we can do printf debugging, because we can poke in the... Okay, so our current state is 2, right? So... So player dir plus 2 mod 4. That should be 0, right? It's 4. Hold on a second, that's not right. So the thing... Oh no, is this a parens issue? The thing I'm trying to do is... So this expression here should have evaluated to 0, right? Because player dir is 2, plus 2 is 4, mod 4 is 0. But it evaluates to 4. So I'm suspecting the problem is that operator... Oops. Yes, okay. So the problem is that order of operations does not work the way I thought it would. So mod binds differently. Well, that was an interesting thing. So, sorry about that, folks. That was not the most interesting... Okay. Yeah, I suppose I could have used... So higher priority than addition. That's true. I might just be a dummy. All right. Player dir plus 3 mod 4. So player dir plus 3 mod 4 is 1. I'm gonna set it, yeah. Oh no, hang on a second. It's a card field! That's why it's not working. Okay. Yes! Okay. Rotate right. There we go! Hooray! Alright, sorry about that, folks. The good news is that rotate left is almost certainly not going to screw me up. Famous last words. So rotate left is just going to be So subtracting 1 is the same thing as adding 3 mod 4, I think. So if we rotate right, rotate left, north, west, south, east. Yes, okay. Good, we did it. Fun fact, Guremi and I were in like an Intro to Algorithms class like a very, very long time ago, and he saved my bacon so many times, so I feel like it's oddly appropriate that he is now here saving my bacon. Okay, cool. So we can now we now have rotation. That's cool. Let's see, what else can we do? Why don't we actually do the wall drawing? So this will be the script that actually takes the contents from these cards and overlays them on the game card. I think that maybe that would be a fun thing to write. So, actually, I've been doing everything in the background here. So, why don't we call this... Actually, I don't know if it's a sort of thing where... Because render will call this, I don't know if it has to be beneath, so we'll just put it beneath. So let's call it on draw walls, and this will take an argument. Wall nums. So for instance, if we wanted to render like this one and this one, it would be the comma separated, not in an array containing 1 and 3. Okay. So what we'll do is, because this is going to be kind of a time-intensive operation, I'm going to set cursor to busy. So this kind of makes it like a beach ball, but it's a 1-bit black and white beach ball. And busy is nice because if lots of stuff is happening in the background and you kind of want to make it, you want to reveal to the user that something is happening, you can just say set cursor to busy periodically and it will change the rotation. So we'll use that because draw walls, I think it'll take a little while to run. So there's another thing that we can do, which is called, do I want to lock the screen at this point? So because kind of what we're doing is we're just doing like a macro of like going to some card, selecting the contents, going back to the other card, copy, paste, stuff like that. Often you want to sort of hide that from the user. So I can use lock screen to just sort of not show that happening. And then when we do an unlock screen, it'll all get revealed all at once to the user. So that's kind of nice. So let's see. So repeat with I equals 1 to the number of items of wall nums. And repeat. Okay, there's kind of a, so I'm going to push card. So you can have like a stack of like active stacks, because we'll want to return back to this card. So we'll push card, and there will be a pop card later on. So we're going to go to card. Now, what did I name them? They all have names. So this should be, is it wall 1? Wall 1. Okay. So all of these are like wall 1, wall 2. Let's just make sure. Yep. This is background. So go to card, wall space, and then I. So ampersand is concatenation, because why the heck not? Sorry, it's not I, it is item I of wall nums. Yes, that's right. Garami says that's some impressive auto indent, considering how often Emacs misindents my Python code in 2017. Yes, have you considered Vim? But no, you're right. Like the editing functionality is actually pretty darn slick, given this is I think the first version of HyperCard came out in like 87 or something like that. Vim++ from Lido. Excellent. So what we're going to do here is, once we've gone to this card, we're going to do menu, select all. So this is basically just what I was doing by hand when we were showing. I was showing you how it was going to work at the start of the stream. This is kind of a weird, non-intuitive thing. Do menu select. So select all will sort of draw like a rectangular box around the whole card, but it won't respect transparency. So select is the menu feature that just sort of basically it magic wands out sort of the transparent area. vmlinux.el for life says Mark D222. I'm not sure I want to know what that is. It sounds terrifying. So now we're going to do the copy of the contents we just selected. And we're going to send Command C to HyperCard. So we're going to do type C with, oh boy, is it Command key? I'm not sure about the capitalization there. So we've done the copy. Yeah, so now we pop the card. And then type V with Command key. Yeah, I think that's right. Oh, a thing we should probably do up here is delete everything on the card right now. So we'll do menu select all, do menu, I don't remember what it is. So we would select all. HyperTalk, I believe, is case insensitive, so CHZ16. Cool. We can bypass that. It's clear picture. Oh no, there's some leet speak going on in chat. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. So actually, one thing we have to do is, because we're doing all the selection, we need to select the select tool. So choose select tool. Oh yeah, let's do that set cursor to busy thing. Cursor to busy. Then we will unlock the screen. Choose browse tool, which is the tool that lets you sort of click and interact with HyperCard. Okay, so let's see if this works. You can drop the 16, by the way. Okay, CHZ, good to know. Okay, so choose. Okay, so now let's try rendering walls 1 and 3. So shoot, I've already forgotten what I called it. I'm not draw walls. Okay, Mark D. Yes, that's true. There's not 221 other Mark Ds in here, so Mark D it is. Draw walls 1, 3. If all goes well, we should have this one and this one rendered. Let's see if this works. Hey, look at that, it worked! Cool! Alright, so I don't remember if I talked about this, but the reason why I ordered it this way was that you can just sort of iterate from 1 to 9 and everything will get overlaid in the right order. So for instance, if I wanted to put 8 here, which will sort of cover up this place here, because 3 and 1 came before, we know that 8 will get drawn over top. So this was literally an epiphany that I woke up with at like 12:30 at night, realizing, oh, if I do it in this way, then, you know, it has this nice property. So let's try that. Yeah, this takes a little while to do. Okay, yeah, so that does the right thing. And kind of a nice property where you have, in our sort of template cards here, this wasn't just a nice thing to keep my sanity, it also means you're drawing the mini-map as sort of a side effect, which is kind of nice. Hilarious use of HyperCard's drawing tools. Yeah. I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to do it. Like, one alternative could have also been to script... Oh, if I go into drawing tools, I could have said something like, well, if we want to draw this one here, we'll select the, you know, the rectangle tool, and then like draw that rectangle, and then, you know, something like that, or whatever. That's the worst thing I've ever drawn in my life. But that could have been an alternative too, and that would have been actually a lot faster to render. The reason why I wanted to go this way here is that if it's a bitmap rather than just like a vector thing, then we can create sort of whatever designs we want here, kind of based on suggestions from the audience, which could make things a lot more interesting than just like white or like not filled in cubes. Let me think. So if we're going with the mall theme, let's see, do we want to try and maybe draw some things on the... Yeah, more aesthetic possibilities, says Robin. Why don't we try making these a little bit more interesting to look at? So let's see, what would a mall look like here? So if we can draw some things here. I guess like if you're in sort of the shopping area, there would be something kind of like a door for the shops to open, maybe. So there could be something like, or like a window. Yeah, I feel like I kind of like the window. Oh yes, we will definitely have to use the spray can tool for sure. Oh, we could do something like. We'll have to replicate this for every card, but the thing about the West Edmonton Mall that was alluded to earlier is that it's very 70s kitschy, and I don't know exactly why it manifests this way, but there's a lot of potted plants. So I definitely think we should put a potted plant, maybe something kind of like this. Kind of don't want it to protrude too much. The reason why is like we'll have items on the ground down the road. So yeah, 1980s, 1990s mall style. Let me actually do a Google search here, because I don't exactly remember when was the last time any of us were in a mall? 1980s style mall. Alright. Oh god, this hair all looks terrible. Oh yeah, this doesn't look great at all. Wow, okay. Right, so then there should be... I actually do see a lot of potted plants. So I guess you could have something like... Because if this is like post-apocalyptic... Yeah, Horseman's, definitely paste the URL. Let's see what you suggest. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just switch and click on this link here. Oh, wow! This is the most aesthetic thing I've ever seen in my life. Good gravy, that's excellent. Thank you, Horsemans. So I love, like, the tile at the bottom. Let's definitely mimic that. And then those weird things on top. Yes, perfect. So I'm going to go back to Mac Plus. And in fact, we even have, like, this tile, this sort of square tile. I think maybe if we do something like this. And I feel like we could, oops. For the time being, I'm just going to do like a malls. So CHZ recommends Malls Across America by Michael Galinsky, which I'm definitely going to check out later on. That sounds like a beautiful ode to capitalism. I can't wait to take a look. So I'm just going to do kind of this here to kind of suggest that it's like a glass window. But we also have the spray can tool. That's not going to use itself. Actually, what if we did something kind of like this? I like the idea of there being like little lights kind of up here. Actually, no, let me draw the light. Something kind of like that. And then maybe paste something in like that. I want to say we could almost do something like have like something of a store back here. So let me get rid of that glass thing for the moment and have something that kind of maybe looks like this. Maybe with just sort of like a shop. And you'll see what I'll do with it in a second here. Something kind of like that. And then there's actually some pretty good drawing functionality in the HyperCard, so I can go to Paint and say Lighten. And then I'll do the same, sort of draw that, something kind of like that. So, if we go back to our rendered one here, if we do draw walls, if we do the same one again. Hello, Goblin. How's it going? Thank you for coming in. Actually, while this is rendering, I noticed that that's a bummer. What the heck just happened? So I must be missing. I think it might be because we have a... Let's see if that works. So I've noticed we're into like the Roxette remixes. Yeah, it's the transparency, but okay, there we go, cool. So yeah, so what I think had happened was that this square wasn't totally filled in, so the magic wand tool kind of just infiltrated in a way that we didn't want. Can you send a shape to the back? Sort of. Horseman's, do you mean in terms of like the order that we render things here, or just like in general in HyperCard? So we're in the remix phase of Roxette, which I'm not a huge fan of, I think. So... Boy, what else can we put on instead? Oh, I know what we can put on. It's not early 90s, strictly speaking. But also an integral part of my childhood. So, also it's my stream. I can allow it. You know, what are y'all gonna complain about? So I like this design. I'm going to try and replicate this just briefly with at least the ones that are closest to us, so that would be 3 and 6. Yeah, the paint tools are single layer raster. Buttons and fields have layers to them, so that could work in a pinch. Let's see, so that is the point. But no, Modern Surf is right. This was your warm-up music before you did your panel at Magfest. That's amazing. That warms my heart. Also, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. That's really nice to... It's nice to know that people are sort of as interested in these weird things like me. So, in order to replicate sort of this sort of cross thing, or tiling down here, let's create a new pattern. Horseman's. In fact, one of the side projects I want to do at some point when I'm gainfully unemployed is a port of SCI with some new functionality. So you should definitely do an SCI stream. I'm a huge fan of that. In fact, the things that I worked on with HyperCard when I was a kid were in fact Sierra-style adventure games. I really wasn't that much of a HyperCard fan. Sorry, I was a HyperCard fan. I wasn't that much of a role-playing games fan, so I never would have made a game like this. The stuff that would have interested me more was making, like, they were very bad, unfunny Space Quest ripoffs, which was not, like, they were probably very painfully, a port of SCI to HyperCard. Interesting. I wonder if you could actually pull that off. So HyperCard actually has binary file loading, so I bet that would almost, I wonder if that would almost work. Certainly I can imagine something like, you can imagine building something like the Zork Z Machine interpreter in HyperCard. There would be a lot of very frustrating binary data type marshalling that you would have to do, because as I recall, like, the Z Machine had its own, like, encoding, like, character encoding system that would be a real pain to write, but I bet you could totally do it. And I feel like the graphical, like the later ones, the later games, would definitely kind of have sort of a similar sort of HyperCard vibe. Like, I remember, like, Zork Zero kind of having art a little bit like this. Mark suggests an XCMD, which is a great idea. XCMDs are, like, native extensions for HyperCard, where you can write something in, like, Pascal or C, and then basically just, like, I think it's just like a dynamic link. No, it's probably not a dynamic link. I've never seen that in... You probably have to do some resource funging to make that work. But basically you can call into native code. In fact, in the later stream, I had the idea of trying to speed up, like, the copying and pasting, like, the rendering stage by writing an XCMD, but I need, like, a C compiler. Mark D says it was a code resource. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense, given that it's just, like, native code. So how would you would just say, like, invoke code resource 128 or something like that, and then it would just sort of take control? Is that how it would work? So I'm going to try and render 3, 6, and 9, just to see how this looks so far. Sorry, 3, 6, and 8. I can't tell if it's actually doing something. Is it possible that I need to be in this mode? Interesting. Oh shoot, what card am I on? I'm in game, okay. Oh! Because I'm a total dummy, it's not render. It is draw walls. The XMD had a name so you could call parse Z Machine stuff. I wrote a couple of them with a TML Pascal back in the mists of time. That's super cool. Yeah, interesting. That would be a super fun thing to do. I feel like the Z Machine interpreter is actually kind of a neat idea. Free Twitch stream idea. Okay, so this is what walls 3, 6, 9 look like. I guess I'll have to finish, like, this part up here. But otherwise I kind of like how this works. Oh, and that's not the right thickness. So let's go to 3. I think this was the thickness. Okay. And then... now it ends... Okay, so I got the right one there. Like so. Now... It was sort of this one, I think? Yeah. Oops. Alright, So then I will just do the same on 3, and then maybe like in subsequent streams we can do a little bit more over here. I kind of like the idea that the ones off in the distance are less detailed, because you can, like, it's farther away, you can't see them quite as clearly anyway. So 3... Oh, darn, I need to... Okay, so it begins there. Like so. Now if we go back and draw the walls again, it should look a little bit more filled in, like so. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I don't know, I'm thinking this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this so far. Let's see, what else? So there's... I was going to say this was going to run until 7:30 Pacific time. I guess there's maybe one more thing that we can sort of just get started with, and that's dealing with the map. All right, so one of the things we're going to need is like a place to store like one or more levels, and like what tiles have what kind of background, stuff like that. So let's put it... I don't know where this should live. I'm going to go to the last card, and then I'm going to create a new background. And this automatically creates a new card. And let's... I don't know, I'm feeling creative right now. Let's call it... fork of fat. Oh boy, to save space on 60 key machines. That's hilarious. Right, I would have thought that. So Evaluator says, I know of at least one commercial app that used a data fork for something. Yeah, you would think that, especially if it was like a cross-platform application. Interesting. If you obtain an old copy of MS Word 2.0 with someone else's name on it, you can easily change it. Good to know. Oops. So I'm just going to make this line up like so. Yeah, that's reasonably useful. So what I think I'm going to do, just to wrap up the stream, is I'm just going to make a simple map. Let's see. I don't like the... I was going to say X is a wall, but it would also be cool if we had different kinds of walls, or different kinds of textures, for lack of a better word. So I'm going to say W. And the nice thing about it taking so long to render is that these maps don't actually have to be very big. MS Word prior to 6 or 4 was a fantastic piece of software, yes. I actually remember a similar thing where I was goofing around with my dad's copy of ClarisWorks. And somehow... Yeah, that's right, I was goofing around with my dad's copy of like the master disc for ClarisWorks, so I personalized it with some, I don't know, some silly nonsense, and he was real mad. But then I think years later I edited the resource fork to change the names back to, you know, my last name or something like that. So it's interesting that it was stored in the data fork. Yeah, weird. Okay, so just as an example of how I think this map is going to go. Oh, we should... What's a good name for this level? What should level 1 of our descent into terrible 1980s mall be called? I will gladly take suggestions from the audience. No! Not Boxing Mix Blockface. Hopefully this will be a more interesting map than just a box. EMN1, fine. E1M1. If you insist. I mean, it's technically correct. It is episode 1, map 1. So we'll leave that for now until someone suggests something else. I mean, let me think. I kind of think like a thing that we need to write is something that, given a player's position, returns like modern surf. Exactly. I was kind of trying to come up with something goofy, like a marathon style. Like a Bungie style map name, but that's okay. We can come up with someone a different one later on. Garemi says sneak a Code Red at the Super Mall reference in here. Yes, absolutely. At some point we should do that. Actually, why not? All right. Oh man. The emulator mouse is like really goofy. So drawing is a little tough. So forgive me if I'm fighting with the mouse for some reason. All right, good enough. So I think the next thing we would have to write is the function that says like, well, if the player's position is here and we're facing north, it would return like 1, not 2, not 3, 4, no, 4, not 5, not 6, and 7. But I think that's going to be a little bit involved, so I kind of want to leave that to the next episode. But I think I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope y'all had a lot of fun. I really hope everyone comes back and hangs out as we do some more HyperCard stuff. I learned a lot of weird HyperCard things while debugging things on the fly. Yeah, so I think maybe wrap things up here. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm Dijkstracula on most things, so come find me on Twitter. Would love to continue talking about weird old Mac stuff with y'all in between streaming or not. Yeah, I had a lot of fun as well. So I'm going to just quit and shut everything down here. Yes, so see you all next time, pals. Yeah, have a good night. Okay, bye.